Hello everybody, this is Joanna. Thank you so much for coming back. These are going to be your messages for the new moon on August 11th. This new moon, apparently, according to my information received, is going to transpire over the next several months. It is the longest message I have given. It's around 40 minutes or so. It goes into a lot of depth regarding our belief systems and what is transpiring. So some of you may not be used to this long of a video. I did not plan on it. This is kind of how it turned out. So I'm hoping you're going to like it. It is in some way very educational. You might want to go back to it at some point. And yeah, I just hope you enjoy. I just went ahead and I just channeled based on what they wanted, what Spirit wanted us to know. Of course, if you would like different information, additional information, I have a lot of videos on the summer eclipses on my Vimeo, and that information is down below. Also, the 6-month messages, which are the eclipses, are on Vimeo. So if you want more information, please go take a look at the link and it'll take you directly there. Also, the 7-year projection for Uranus or Taurus in Uranus is also there. So anyway, the links are down below. If you choose to take a look at it, go ahead and do so. But I do hope you enjoyed this. Please give me some comments. I am wanting to do more channeled educational videos just because I love to teach. So I hope you like it. Enjoy. Best of luck and see you soon. Take care. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming back. These are going to be your messages for the August 11th new moon solar eclipse. I have not meditated, I almost said medicated, on the energies because I wanted to go raw. I'm wanting to do more impromptu channel information. So I'm going to tune in, but I do want to talk about the energies that I have been experiencing over the last few days. If you have been feeling guarded, irritated, angry, or unusually happy for some reason, if you've been feeling tension in your environment, or if you've just been feeling tensed, if you can't sleep, if you are restless, I want to say pay attention to your feelings, but more importantly than that is make sure you take good care of yourself. Why am I saying this? Because that is what I have been feeling over the last few days, and it is what I'm being asked to talk about for a brief moment. So the energies are shifting apparently quite quickly, and it may cause a bit of a ripple effect in the way we feel and in the way we feel about ourselves. And I have mentioned this in, I think, most of the August messages that Spirit was saying. August is going to be challenging for most of us, not because it is necessarily something bad, but it is because of the energies. There is a swift movement of energies. So rather than gradually shifting, we shift fairly quickly, and it brings stuff to the surface. I have been having issues with communication. I have been having issues with my devices. So you may also notice that the energy is affecting your appliances or your computers or your smartphones or your phones. So if you've been experiencing that, I just want to say, just chill. This is going to pass. In the next few days, you are going to feel like you are back to normal. So that's what I wanted to say, because I've been kind of irritated for no apparent reason. Some stuff coming up. Okay, so let me tune in and see what Spirit wants us to know. The way I want to approach these messages is asking what we are leaving behind, and also what we are bringing forward, or what we are working on. And I do have some cards. First and foremost, remember that you are always important. So this is a message for, I would say, most of us, to always remember that there is no such thing as a status when it comes to a soul. A soul is important and it has no status. Therefore, reaching for something other than what is doesn't really exist. The reason why I'm being asked to say this is because many of us are having some challenges when it comes to self-worth and inner confidence. A lot of the time when this happens, we try very hard to figure things out by addressing what we are creating. In other words, we are focusing on what it is we are trying to accomplish to make us feel better, more important, more valuable, rather than creating an environment inside of ourselves in order to cultivate the feeling of important. So if you have been feeling slightly off, if you've been feeling doubts, if triggers are coming up and they are triggering your feeling of self-worth and importance, it is important to remember that you are always important. And from the perspective of the spirit world, it is essential that we all learn to accept that as simply is. There is no such thing as a hierarchy when it comes to the spirit world, or at least that is what I'm supposed to say, and I do believe that that is the case. So as we're going through these transitions over the next several weeks and months and years, we will begin to see magnified the effects of our past experiences and the effect they have and had in our lives. It's almost as the entire belief system is being uprooted in order to transition into something much better. Not a great word to use, but that's how I'm going to use it. So it's important to pay attention what sort of things come up to you as a result. What sort of things start to surface. One of the words that's coming up here is the feeling of panicky. So if all of a sudden you are starting to feel anxious and there is no apparent reason for it, make time to determine where the manifestation of anxiousness is coming from. And generally it's coming from, obviously comes from inside, but you're being triggered inside. Take this in this example as an opportunity to delve deeper into what is causing or making you feel anxious. You will often realize that the anxiety is stemming from something that was unresolved in the past and is currently being triggered by a set of circumstances you are facing. And this could be anything. You could have challenges around abandonment, and a lot of people do, emotional abandonment, physical abandonment, and you have managed to keep this under a rug for quite some time, and you've dealt with it the best you can, and you kept the lid on it as much as possible. But now you are facing some major choices and decisions in your life, and those unresolved feelings from the past around abandonment will be triggered. So if you are going through changes, as we all are, and if you are in a transition where choices and decisions will be made very shortly, I'm getting October for some of you, chances are your unresolved feelings are being magnified right now. Why? For the purpose of you acknowledging it so that you can work with it. Now, why would that be important at this particular time, right? Great question. Because we're moving into or shifting into much higher frequencies. The analogy is that anything that is within us is energy. So, for example, if we hold on to fear and pain, resentment and anger, those are vibrations, and those vibrations are on the low end. I'm going to use that term. Because the frequencies we're shifting into, the fifth dimension, is a frequency of a much higher vibration, it will amplify our ability to create our own experiences. Therefore, the more gunk or junk we have in our backyard, the more we are likely to manifest this in our future. So it is important at this time to acknowledge your fears that come up. Any resistance to it will only prove to be futile at the end of the day. Why? Because anything that is being resisted only persists longer. So I hope I'm not going on a tangent here, but it's really important to use this time, particularly when you are being triggered during this energy, to sweep up the old dust that no longer belongs in your life. And I am predominantly talking about the way we see ourselves. If we see ourselves as failures, we will keep creating scenarios that will make us feel that way. And there's other gazillion examples I could give, but that's just to illustrate the point. So what I'm being shown here is that this new moon may, for some of us, or for many of us, amplify certain feelings in order to get our attention. Now, why would that be happening? Great question. One of the things that I asked is, what are we leaving behind? And 3 cards popped out, and I thought they were brilliant. I was meant to keep all of them. The first thing is arrogance. Then we have refining galactic lineage, and then we have confusion. So these cards may not mean anything to you. As I've mentioned in my last messages, I have not studied these, so I'm going mostly on my intuition. So what are we leaving behind? Arrogance. That's pretty self-explanatory. But what is arrogance really? Arrogance can be explained as a judgment of something or someone that is based often in fear of our own. The ego, the idea of ego is being amplified. So we are being asked to look at the level of confidence we have about ourselves and how it comes out as judgment towards others. I'm being asked to give an example. Well, I'm not coming with an example, but arrogance, I trust you guys understand what arrogance means. It means being, no, I don't even want to say being judgmental. It's more than that. What can I tell them arrogance is besides what they can see in encyclopedia? It's a feeling that's being triggered, and it's going with me all the way to your root chakra. So it has a lot of safety and security connected to it. Also anger, and it's expressed in a way or in a behavior that puts down another, especially a person, for whatever reason. And is it often recognized? Sometimes it's recognized, sometimes it is not. Arrogance is not about you being arrogant to somebody else. Arrogance is also being madly and firmly attached to your point of view, unwilling to see a different picture, a different perspective for whatever reason. So as humans, we are leaving that aspect of us behind. And one sure way to leave something like that behind is to first recognize how it appears in your life. How does arrogance rear its ugly head in your life? Does that mean that you are an arrogant person? No, but we all carry a level of that within ourselves, and it is our ego, and it's no point feeling bad about it. There's no point denying it. The simple fact is we all have certain beliefs, and a lot of our beliefs are not so nice, and the fact is we are all judgmental. The moment we begin to accept that is the moment where we can begin to shift the perception that we have. There's no point, if we deny the fact that we are arrogant in some situations, then we are just being stuck in the same old predicament or the same old parameter. So the message here is, how does arrogance play a role in your life? Could it be your arrogance? Could it be somebody else's arrogance that affects you? Do you live under the dogma of other people because you don't want to become responsible for your life? Because you're too afraid you can't do it? Or do you have certain beliefs about life and you cling to it for dear life without as much as wanting to have awareness that there might be something different. You guys figure out what that means to you. But that is one of the things we are not only leaving behind, but we are being asked to leave behind. Judgments towards ourselves, which also corresponds into judgments we have of others. Those are also things we need to pay close attention to. Why? Because when we constantly berate ourselves in whatever shape or form, we are causing psychological and emotional damage to ourselves. It would be no different than having a brand new baby and feeding it words that are derogatory, nasty, and negative. Chances are that child would grow up being not a very happy and self-assured individual. Same idea. It is also the idea of self-nourishment that's being addressed here. When we are negative, when we are gossipy, when we are judgmental, when we are critical, those are not nurturing energies. Those are energies that take away from us. They're very low vibrating. They're based in fear. That's really what they're based in. So if you are someone who has been very judgmental, notice how it comes out in your life. What are some of the things that you keep yourself from experiencing because you have certain judgments around it? And for each one of you, this will mean something different. What are some of the judgments you have about yourself that continually keep you stuck in a certain state of awareness, or in a certain mindset, or in a certain relationship for that matter, or a job situation, whatever it may be? Always remember that we have two opposing sides in each and every one of us, the positive and the negative. Though the negative does not have to mean bad. It's like a battery. It has to have a positive and a negative charge in order to work as a unit. So what I'm basically saying, we all have aspects of ourselves that we may not like, but it is important to accept those aspects and notice how they can be shifted and changed in order to serve us in a positive way. Example would be perfect. He's asking me to give you an example. If you are someone who is constantly critical of yourself, chances are you will be constantly, perhaps quietly, critical of somebody else. Because when we are critical of ourselves, we judge ourselves harshly, and often we compare ourselves to others. Now, that has obviously stemmed from some circumstances in your past when you have learned this behavior of doing this, whether it because it was instilled in you, whether it was because you observed somebody close to you do it, or whether it's because you've gone through certain things that didn't feel very good, and then you've learned to be very critical and harsh of yourself. So that's the negative aspect. There's no point in denying it, because denying it only takes our power away. We're trying to hide it. Now, how can this be in a positive way? By looking at your circumstances and how they have shaped you. For example, being an arrogant person. If arrogant was on one end of the spectrum and there was another end of that spectrum, what would the opposite of arrogance be? Or of critical be, or judgment be? It would be self-acceptance. So part of this judgment of yourself, this aspect of yourself, you can use as a way to turn that into your greatest strength. An example would be, if you are very judgmental of yourself, the opposite side would be total acceptance. So asking yourself this question, how can I learn to accept myself so that I don't judge myself, is how you can use that in a positive way. I'm hoping this is going to make sense, but I'm supposed to say this. Somebody's supposed to hear this. There's a reason for it. Also, when you judge another harshly, it is almost always connected to you having some anger or bitterness about what it is that it represents for you. Example, if you see somebody driving a nice car, you may have an inner reaction that is jealousy, bitterness, and you may judge the person driving a nice car, saying they must be doing something that isn't legal, otherwise they wouldn't drive that car. So you have a negative criticism toward that person. If you were to examine the real reason why you have that emotion, why you have this reaction, you would probably realize that what's being triggered is you not having the car yourself. and therefore your trigger is causing a behavior that comes out as a criticism or a judgment of this person. So if you peel down the layers, or you peel back the layers, and truly understand what it is that you feel about yourself when you are being harsh, uncritical, or judgmental towards somebody else, you will usually realize that the judgment really is something that you fear about yourself. And I would say that's also under the umbrella of arrogance. Could I say that? It's, not having visibility. Maybe not, but somehow the arrogance is also being connected to this. Now, the other message here is refining galactic lineage. So when I tune into this card, there's several things that come to me. One of the things that we're leaving behind is feeling responsible for other people, or being, what's the word I want to use? Being, being too attached to take care of other people for the purpose to feel good about yourself. Let me just see if I can break this down a little bit. Some of you feel like you have had responsibility on your shoulder for most of your life. Some of those responsibilities are learned behavior. Some of those responsibilities you have decided to put on yourself for various reasons. What we are leaving behind is the recognition that each and every individual has the choice to live the life they want. Now, I'm not talking about you not taking responsibility of someone who physically can't take care of themselves or mentally, emotionally can't take care of themselves. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being too attached to being overly dependent on being needed by other people. And a lot of us carry that with us. It comes from the sense of not feeling good inside, and oftentimes it expresses itself in overdoing things for other people for the pure sense of validation. And we all need validation. But the problem is, and I've always said that if we seek validation from outside, if that's our only source, we will often feel very empty inside. Doesn't matter how many people we help. The other aspect of this message is what you are going through in your life right now is also paving a way for those before you and those who have come, who will come after you. In other words, there is a feeling here of creating certain patterns and behaviors that have been connected to your ancestors, and you are creating a path and a new way for those who will come after you. Why would this be important to say? The reason why it's important to say is because we are all here going through our own evolution and our own transformation, effectively transform the energy of this planet. So we are all very significant and we're all very important. I believe that was said at the very beginning. So each and every one of us plays a role in raising our planet's vibration. I never talk about this stuff, but this is what's coming. So it is important for you to acknowledge that when you have judgments, when you have arrogance, when you have other things that are of negative energy, you are in part creating that by not creating it, you are contributing to the planet either with those energies or with energies that are lighter. Is that how I want to say it to them? Okay, you're not responsible for the Earth's energies, and partly yes, you're responsible for your own energies, which is part of the whole. So it is really important for you to remember how important you are. That's a very big message that I'm being asked to say. Confusion is, well, what is confusion? We know what confusion is. Confusion is when things begin to make no sense. Often this happens as we go through certain moments that are very trying. And things have been going okay, and all of a sudden we are faced where things inside us are bubbling and something inside says something is off. So if you have been going through a lot of confusion, if you have been asking yourself, who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What is preventing me from fully being me? It seems the sense of confusion is leaving you. But when we let go of arrogance and when we let go of judgments, when we let go of resistance to change, we become less confused because we are able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. In other words, before the enlightenment moment comes, there is usually a lot of resistance. And I always say, enlightenment is like, no, I'm going to say it differently. Evolution, it's like sharpening a pencil. In order for a pencil to be sharp, it has to go through the pencil sharpener. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be the pencil because it's not probably a comfortable thing to go through. Point is, confusion almost always happens when we are being shaped to our new awareness. Now, what are we bringing forward? Brilliant. We have dream time and awakening. So this is what is transpiring. Notice the number 9 and 1. 9 is all about letting go. 1 is about new beginnings. When we let go of one aspect, a brand new aspect has to begin. It's like in nature. After fall comes winter, after winter comes spring. It's just a natural law. It's just a natural law of the universe. Point is here that we are moving more into an awakened state where we begin to realize some of the things that we were clinging to are purely an illusion. And I'm being asked to expand on that just a little bit. What I mean by illusion is when we have fears that are deeply rooted in our past and we begin to examine the very essence of our fears, we begin to realize that the fears that we once had, they're no longer applicable to our life. In other words, until we stop and go deep inside and clearly see what's happening, we're never able to move past the illusion of what a fear is. And I'm being asked to give you another example. Let's go with the example of somebody driving a new car and that's being triggered. That to me, let's use this example, is signifying that something inside of you that is based in lack is having a bit of a problem with seeing the car that you don't have. In other words, it validates the very thing that you want but don't have, or it shows. Now, when you begin to open that up and when you begin to go into the feeling of why you're feeling judgmental about the car, you begin to realize that it is really because what's happening inside is you're being reminded that you don't have what this person has, and that makes you feel again unworthy. And then you go deep inside and then you go, okay, where does this feeling come from for me? You begin to realize that when you were from the age of 5 to 7, bullied so badly that it made you feel like you don't belong. You felt rejected, you felt shy, you felt alone, you felt lonely. You began to close yourself off, and you begin to feel this on a regular basis, which then became your belief. And as you look back at this particular time, you begin to notice some of the things that have transpired in a positive way as a result of what this was once. And as a result, you have learned to be very compassionate. As a result, you have learned to be very helpful, and you're driven by the passion to wanting to help others. You have perhaps through that unfortunate set of events realized that it is really important to feel good about yourself, because the more you feel good inside, the more resilient you are, and the more resilient you are, doesn't matter what can come at you, you can handle it better. You may be someone who's devoted to practicing feeling feeling empowered, and therefore as a result you want to help and educate this to other people. So what just happened here is we shifted your current state of awareness about your bullying into something that you are able to see as a benefit. So you are not discounting what happened, but rather you are shifting your focus on it. You are shifting connection to it. You're shifting the energy you have around it. That releases the pain, which releases the anger and resentment, and it makes you begin to feel good about you, because the person that you are for the most part is, according to you, quite amazing. I hope this is making sense. I kind of just spit it out. The other thing that's being shown here is the feminine principle. So this is what we're bringing forward. A couple of things here. It is absolutely becoming aware that we need to rely on ourselves for anything that we want. Now, I want to define that, because that some of you are not going to hear this correctly. I'm talking about confidence. I'm talking about the ability to feel good about yourself. I'm talking about the ability to stand to the world and say, here I am. No one in the world can give this to you, to me. It is something that we need to find within ourselves. So the message here is, if you had the tendency in the past to look to others for validation, chances are some of these things will be highlighted to you in the process in the next little while, where you will be able to clearly see, so that you can observe and decide if you want to keep it. In other words, if you have been bullied, as an example, your confidence would probably be very low. If your confidence is very low, chances are you would be looking to other people for validation. So you're shifting that. What you're bringing forward is the ability to trust yourself. It's your ability to feel good inside. And when you feel good inside, everything is just a little bit easier. The necessity to look at your good aspects is very, very important. That's a word statement. What I mean to say is, it is important, it is necessity to look at yourself from the point of view of someone who has compassion. In other words, if you were to see yourself as a separate individual, would you see yourself from a compassion point of view? And if you did see yourself from the compassion point of view, what would you see? Notice the feelings that you would have towards looking at that person in front of you. What would you see about that person that the person in front of you cannot see for themselves? When this happens, something amazing happens. You begin to see aspects of you never seen before, and you begin to have a bigger picture of what this is really all about. This is often when enlightenment comes. When we have a moment of enlightenment, it's like something is coming out of our eyes and we're able to see clearer. And for the first time in your life, you begin to see things differently about a specific object or specific subject or an aspect of yourself. The moment you have the awareness, you can never go back. You can choose to forget, but that's a choice. You can never go back. So there's a huge focus here on needing to come more into yourself, where you can validate yourself and be the one that validates you. Now, does that mean that it doesn't feel good to have other people say good job or you're great? Or of course not. It doesn't mean that at all. As a matter of fact, we all want that. Is because it's like rain. It helps us grow. But if we rely on that exclusively from outside sources, it can never truly sustain you for the long haul. We know that. And then last but not least, we have the belief system. So this is all about beliefs. And I always say everything is about beliefs. We do what we believe. We approach things how we believe. We keep ourselves away from certain things because of what we believe. Everything is about what we believe. So this is about you examining your belief system. What are some of the belief systems that you cling to? What are some of the belief systems that you cling to because according to you, they keep you safe? They may keep you safe from judgments. They may keep you safe from rejection. They may keep you safe from disappointment. They may keep you safe from hurt. But the reality of it is, you cannot be kept away from that because it's part of life. So when you are kept away from it, or when you keep yourself away from it, you are essentially closing yourself off. When you close yourself off, you are closing yourself off to receiving, and that's the irony of it. So as the example being given about the car, when someone has an abreaction or abnormal reaction to seeing a new car, and the person has a judgment towards the person who drives the nice car, it is a belief system about themselves that makes them have a certain reaction. So when you delve down and when you realize that you really are being triggered and you're noticing the feeling that you're not good enough, that's the belief system. And I'm going to say it again. It is not that we are not good enough. It is, well, I think we all know that. It's not, I'm going to say it differently. Whew. It's not that we are not powerful. We are already all powerful. We haven't lost our power. We haven't sold our power. We haven't given our power away. We are all inherently powerful. What we do is, however, is we prevent ourselves from expressing that power fully. So when you look at it that way, it kind of paints a different picture, because it then really says, power is not in question here. Power is inherent. You are a ball of atoms. Atom is a source of energy. So by the very nature of who you are, even physiologically, you are power. That's undeniable. It is about how we keep ourselves from expressing that power fully. It is not how others keep us away, it's how we keep ourselves from expressing it fully. And we do it for various reasons, primarily for safety, primarily for security, primarily for preventing rejection. We do those things in order to keep us safe. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because we are still getting hurt, we are still getting rejected, we are still getting disappointed. That's part of life. But on top of it, we are keeping ourselves away from something more. So examine your belief system. What are some of the things you have learned about yourself when you were young? What are some of the things you say to yourself as judgments, which is based on your belief? Where did you learn to believe that about yourself? You were not born that way. I always say you're born with two fears: fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Everything else is a learned behavior. When we begin to look deep into ourselves, and when we begin to clearly see the beliefs that we hold, and one of the ways to look at your belief is to look at the reoccurring patterns in your life. What are some of the things that you keep repeating over and over? What are some of the feelings that you keep being triggered over and over? They're all based on a belief. When we begin to dismantle that is when we begin to let go of arrogance, of resistance, of seeing things only a certain way, and therefore it's either that or nothing. All of those things prevent us from expressing our true nature. And our true nature is love. And yes, some of you may disagree with that. As a human being, totally agree. But inherently, we all come from the same place. And inherently, we are all light, and inherently, we are all love. It is only that we prevent ourselves from expressing it fully for whatever reason. One other thing I want to say here, because there's two more cards. Truth be told is in protection position. And this is all about, what are you not seeing? What are you not choosing to see? What are you in denial of? It is best to accept a weakness than let your weakness dictate your life. I love that. That is actually brilliant. Because when you accept your weakness, you are no longer trying to avoid it. You are no longer pretending it's not there. You are no longer in resistance to it. You begin to accept it, and when you begin to accept it, the resistance lessens. The other thing you have is deep knowing, which is, well, the opposite of this. It's brilliant. Understanding yourself deeply. Going deep inside and asking yourself some simple questions, but questions we don't ask. Who am I? What do I believe about myself? And being very honest about it. What do I believe about the world in general? And being very honest about it. Where do my beliefs come from? How have my beliefs affected what I allow myself to experience? This is incredible time to organize our thoughts, which are rooted in our beliefs, in order to help us the very things we want to achieve in life. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a process like anything else. But the moment we start paying attention to the things that are important is the moment when we start creating our brand new reality. If a status was important to you in the past, ask yourself, what would you experience or what would you gain for being in a status position? Honestly, truly ask yourself, what does status give me? Does it give me importance? If it gives me importance, does that mean I don't have it? And be really, really honest with yourself, because unless we are really honest, we really can't move forward. We're kind of are being pushed around because we're choosing not to see. So this is about taking your power back. And again, it just occurred to me today, it's not like we have given our power away. Yes, we term it that way. It's we block ourselves from expressing it fully. A fundamental difference. Huge time for acknowledging these deep aspects within us, because these are the aspects within us that offer us the freedom that we all seek. And I don't care who you are, you seek freedom in some way, whether it's the way you feel, whether it's the way you express, whether it's the way you are in your relationship, whether it's the way you just show up to the world. There's a sense of freedom that every single human being seeks, because we inherently come from that space and that source. So treat yourself accordingly. Take care of your mind, your heart, your emotions, and your spirit. Ground yourself. Take advantage of these energies in order to look at the things that may be bothering you and ask yourself what those are. Don't waste a moment of this precious time in order to learn who you are. It's very important. Where you are today is very different than where you might be tomorrow. But it's your choice to decide how quickly you get there. And even though there's no time on the other side, in this reality, we deal with the time thing. So, in other words, the more you allow yourself to truly see things right now, particularly as they're being uprooted, the sooner you can begin to shift your perspective. And every time you shift your perspective, you shift your energy, you shift your vibration. Like vibration attracts like vibration, and you know the rest. I wish you best of luck. I wish us best of luck. The energies that I'm being talked about, they're going to evolve over the next several months, particularly the last 4 months or so. So for some of you, this makes no sense right now, but it may make sense to you a month or 3 or 4 months from now. Some of you have been experiencing this for a while, and it's going to continue for a bit. We're all in the same boat. Point is, let's look at our fears in order to see how we prevent ourselves from being fully powerful. I wish you best of luck. Thank you so much. For private sessions with me, that information is down below. Thank you again, and good luck.